The main points blocking an agreement are really about the size and the governance of the fund. The so-called Frugal Four, the Netherlands, Austria, Sweden, and Denmark, are uncomfortable with two things: the overall size, 750 billion, and the fact that 500 billion of that would be in the form of grants that don't need to be paid back by countries. The thing is, that money needs to come from somewhere, and where it's coming from is the EU as a whole, borrowing on international markets using the credit of all 27 EU states. That's something that was pleaded for during the debt crisis a decade ago, but Germany was always staunchly opposed. What's changed is that Germany is no longer opposing. In fact, Chancellor Angela Merkel is supporting this plan, saying the unprecedented crisis we're in calls for drastic action. But these smaller countries are still quite opposed. The Netherlands, in particular, is going to be one to watch during this summit. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte has suggested that he's really not comfortable with the idea that there would be no conditions attached if the EU takes this big leap into borrowing from the international markets as if it was a country, because of course it's benefiting from the good credit of these northern European countries. So what the Dutch want is that each time a country would get a grant from the fund, it would be subject to a unanimous approval by all 27 EU countries. In other words, any country could have a veto. This is something that EU leaders are really warning against, because we all know how the Council works. When an issue is subject to a veto, countries sometimes say, look, I want this unrelated thing, and then I'll drop my veto, and it could really become a mess. The money could become inaccessible. What could change Mark Rutte's mind today is if he's given assurances that the Commission is going to have really robust oversight over the spending of this money. But oversight is a key word that these southern European countries, in particular Italy, don't want to hear. They feel it's insulting, particularly in a context when Italy did nothing wrong. It was just the first and hardest hit by this crisis.